Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. So my name's Rod.
I'm Zach, and I don't know what my arms are up to.
Yay! I'm done. Hoppa! It's an old-fashioned IRLCAST. I actually don't even know how long it's been since we've done an in-person IRL podcast together.
Yeah, and live as well.
Live,
yeah, and
live.
Going out live.
I mean, years, decades.
Jesus Christ, decades. It might be. I always just think back to the video we did in Singapore on top of the hotel.
Oh, man.
That we were doing like a couple of video live updates, which is where this poster comes from. Right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, exactly right. Which is where, I mean, what you are... I mean, I don't know if you'd like to tell that story because it paints you in a...
Don't tell the Singapore government.
Criminality. Well, I mean, you could argue that these were...
Well, look,
they were in public spaces.
These are ephemeral things that were going to get thrown in the dump. And someone said, Rod, look, we're just going to burn these. It's actually going to be bad for the environment.
It's actually worse if you don't take it.
So would you like to have one as a present from the Singapore government? And I was like, well, look, if it will help the Singapore people, then I'm all about that.
It was that or the key to the city.
So I took it, and here it is framed, and it's fucking great.
Which is probably the best... The reason I love this is because it cements in history the best livery we've had maybe whilst the podcast exists.
The Martini, I can't get lower.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. This little guy. This little guy.
did it.
This little guy there.
This one there, yeah.
I think that is the best livery.
No, exactly. If it wasn't...
It's the Valtteri Bottas... It's what Valtteri Bottas is known for. Is this livery, I think.
He makes a cameo in our new intro as well, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Valtteri Bottas.
The second thing that he's known for is that. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you stole it off the streets. I get it. Look, this is fine.
Yeah. Sorry if you've been listening to the show this week, but yeah, there's some video shit to go through, like the way I've set up the room and the fact that Zach can reach over and fucking touch this guy right here.
Yeah, which I am real. I'm not AI generated. This is
Crazy.
You have to do stuff with your fingers and hands to make it make it show that people know that you're not AI generated.
I'm not AI.
For people listening, what this means is because we're in person, there's going to be lots of talking over each other.
No.
There's going to be a lot of...
Sorry about that.
No gaps because the Australianisms really just start to come out.
I actually think I might be getting a delivery at some point. So
that's great. We can play the doorbell music.
Yeah, we can play the doorbell.
I can vamp. I'll just do it on my own for a second. Zach's little private piece to camera.
With that little mic, so he'll hear me going over and signing. And anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, look, this is an F1 show, so we're here to talk about F1. It's been feast or famine, really.
It's been all the races.
Had all the races, and now none of the races. So we had Australia. Where we are here. We had China.
Yep.
Japan. Some people would say these are countries where they have F1 races.
What do you know? What's the name of the Chinese circuit? Impromptu F1 quiz.
Is it just the Shanghai?
Yeah, is it the Shanghai Autodrome or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know that it has a name. It's the one with the big long straights and the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be racing in China.
It is.
Which is nice. But yeah, it has been... I mean, what are we going to go through today? We're going to talk about those races.
I guess so.
We've got some driver stuff to talk about as well.
The driver stuff. The drama. Just general drama.
I think these will be our early takes of how this formula's working.
Yeah.
Because people are concerned.
That could get spicy.
I've got a story that's a non-news story. No, as in I don't think we need to talk about it. I think people are making too much fuss. And we'll probably talk about Max Verstappen at some point too, right? Because someone has to.
Has he done something?
No. He's done nothing. That's the point. It's not coming to him. But what I think has been really interesting, just broadly speaking, is that how we had a big Lando Norris winner last year, right? Lando, McLaren. It
was the era of Lando Norris.
Yes. And I actually think, media-wise, living in London, people ask me, did you watch the race? Oh my God. There's this new wave of Formula One fans who are interested in the sport, following along with it, but maybe not watching every race. Because I tell you what, they are on at the wrong times. Reconfirmed how badly timed these races are. There's lots of other stuff going on in the world.
Yeah, I love to hear it.
And it has been hard to watch these races.
Add Zach to the list of Europeans telling Australians that F1's on at the wrong time.
Yeah, this is really on at the wrong time. Because if it was on really late at night, great.
Would it be great?
But really early in the morning, like a 4 a.m. start, it's impossible. It's impossible to do. So
can't do it.
I don't think I've watched a little bit of like qualifying live. I haven't watched a race live yet.
Just reconfirming, there's no wrong way to be an F1 fan. If you want to watch the replay, it's fine.
Oh, the replay.
Listen to this.
No, don't listen to me. That's true. But I want to ask you.
Okay.
We are here now. 3 races in.
We are.
New formula.
Oof.
Is it living up to... Where do you put... Let's just put it on a scale of 1 to 10. of what the formula said it was going to deliver, where does it fall for you in 1 to 10 on what it's actually delivering?
Pretty mixed, hey. If you'd asked me after Australia, I would have been like, this is the best regulation change we might have ever had.
Yep.
But if you ask me now, it's like, oof, boy, some bad stuff has come to light. Things that people were complaining about and were like, this is a problem. And I was like, doesn't seem to be a problem. I'm not having a problem.
I love it.
But then other things were like, maybe that's a bit of a problem. And if they're going to make improvements, and it sounds like they will, I'm glad that they're making those changes. So I put it probably a 6 out of 10. It's not devastating, right?
No, I think it's good. I think we're seeing racing.
There's been some good stuff.
I think there's been lots of good racing.
The thing that people say that I agree with is we've got to fix qualifying a little bit. Would rather see the drivers driving really fast rather than managing across the lap. And that would be nice. But just watching the cars without knowing any of that, if you'd just shown me the cars doing that, I would have been impressed. But, people who really know, the anoraks out there, are like,
which is us.
Look at the way he's lifting 20 meters earlier. I'm like, well, I don't know where he would normally lift. How do you even know if he's lifting? How can you tell?
Yeah, how can you tell?
But people who can tell apparently can tell, and the drivers obviously can tell.
Yeah.
It's not ideal that the drivers are not happy.
The drivers have been, I think that's a big problem too, right? That the drivers have been almost like, I don't know if in recent years the drivers have become emboldened to talk shit about their own sport.
$100 word in a $10 conversation. Go on.
I've never heard that saying before. That's really good. Just got to remind you sometimes that I speak the Queen's English now, or the King's English, and not some Australian
I speak
dialect.
the Queen's English, a dead language. Okay, well, educate me.
God, I saw a TikTok the other day of an American in London being like, I didn't know London has such a great theatre scene. The comments are off the chain.
London!
Sorry, Shakespeare.
Man, and you guys have like a castle and stuff here.
Yeah, oh my God, it's amazing. Everything's so old.
Man.
Yeah. No, I think it is really weird. Not really weird, sorry. It's really interesting that the drivers now will just say like how bad the sport is, or like how bad the cars are, or how bad they think the formula is, or all these kinds of things. And you mentioned some really bad stuff. I think we can move on to some of the funnier stuff too later. But the bad stuff, I wonder about, and this was my like, is the news story a non-event or not? The Ollie Behrman crash. Now, he's come up behind a driver who is harvesting energy. I love the way they used harvesting, like they're out there with the scythe, like got fresh energy. The energy growth today has been so fresh. Yeah, exactly. Super clipping, whatever it is, going much slower through a series of corners than Oliver Behrman expected. Now, that to me immediately when I watched that clip, I was like, well, that could happen anywhere on the track at any given time, right? A car could be slow, a car could have an issue.
Problem. Yeah, exactly. I thought that too.
Someone could have made an error, made a mistake, be re-entering the track. So the idea that this is always going to happen all the time, this huge differential between someone who's going full speed and someone who is max harvesting.
But also the line that Colapinto was on, where he was on the right-hand side of the track, approaching a left corner, you wouldn't expect him to drift. And if you watch the replay, by the time Behrman passes him, Colapinto is pointing across and almost closing right across. And it's an odd, I think this is just a new scenario of him going slow, Behrman going unexpectedly fast. Neither of them were ready for it. And it was clumsy driving. And that's not necessarily the fault of the technology, but it is a scenario that the technology created and will continue to create. So we've got to deal with it somehow. How do we do it? I don't know.
But does that mean you have to change the setup?
I don't think you have to throw it all out. But we do need to tweak a few.
But we're constantly doing that, right? The sport is constantly, as the FIA always say, safety is their number one priority. Big crash, he gets out, he walks away. Yes, he's hurt and banged up and all this kind of thing. I don't think our expectation of all massive crashes as well should be that someone leaps out and immediately, does 20 push-ups and answers 10 questions to the, like they're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
What frustrated me was people had spent about 4 or 5 weeks at that point, complaining about the regulations, finding every way under the sun to justify, I want these regulations changed, I don't like them. And then there was a crash, and straight away people were like, we have to change these regulations before someone's killed. And I was like, that's being a little bit alarmist there, and I don't like the idea that you would put on the table the idea that you might kill these drivers, and if we don't change the rules, then someone's going to die. I don't like the idea of you using them as pawns in your little game.
No.
But I do think that we could probably make some changes that would improve things. And, I mean, it's not going to be perfect, obviously.
Yeah.
The other thing is we've had some good racing, and the drivers have been complaining, and my take on that was, I don't don't really care if the drivers are having I don't care if the drivers are having a good time or not.
Yeah,
As long as
that is really
I
interesting.
want to
isn't
watch
it?
the racing, and if it's good, then it's good. And then there's the yo-yoing, which I'd be keen to hear what you think about the yo-yoing, but I was kind of like, well, the point is to overtake the other guy. So if you're faster, you'll overtake him. And if you overtake him with your battery and he gets you back, well, then you went faster than him, were you? Like it wasn't it wasn't the genuine thing that you just did. It's kind of just like, I don't even know, like starting a marathon and sprinting out at the start and going, I am the fastest across this marathon. And then it turns out, actually, you just burned all your energy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk your language here,
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling my,
excellent.
I really appreciate it.
So I have to...
Yeah, I'm just going to struggle to put this into like...
terms that a non-runner is going to...
Yeah, like alternative rock music terms for you to understand.
Yeah. It's like not everything can be a solo rod.
Yeah, well, that's also true, right? Yeah, no, you can't just put all the great tracks at the start of the record and then expect people to listen all the way through.
I sent you that energy between clip and you didn't like it. And I was like, we're going to sit here and watch it on repeat until you say you like it and it's good.
It's the whole second half of the show is just watching that clip. I agree with you in that I don't really care if the drivers are super happy or not. Formula One driving shouldn't be easy.
Yeah,
it also shouldn't be so difficult that everyone's unhappy all the time. Mm-hmm. But like, what are we expecting? Like, this is the first year of a new formula. That every team would roll up with the answer right away and be like, yeah, we've all worked out explicitly super easily. Also, because we don't really let them do any testing anymore. It's been a long time since we've let teams run a whole off season of testing with as many hours in the wind tunnel as they would like on as many test tracks days as possible. Like, they're trying to squeeze out testing on like filming days and
squeeze it out.
We have to let each team get like the right amount of time on the tire testing and all this kind of stuff. It's going to take a whole season for them to work it out.
Yeah.
And no, surprise, surprise, the team with the most resources and the most money has somehow worked it out earlier than anybody else.
It's almost like their car's just the best car this year. Like, there's always a car that's the best car every single year.
Yeah.
I also wondered where we would be in a year's time. If we made no changes, where will we be in a year or two's time? And everyone will have just worked out, this is the optimal way to deploy all the energy.
Yep.
Everyone will be able to predict what everyone else is going to do a lot better. We're just going to get things. If we did nothing, things will get naturally better, I think. But also, I can see the merit behind making a few tweaks. But it's just going to take a bit of time for everyone to settle into this new thing. And it's going to be okay.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question, because there's a lot of toing and froing in the sport. In like anoraks versus a more casual fan.
Us.
Of what do we mean by good racing?
Yeah,
like, what is the end goal here? So how do you think that looks? And are these changes, are they going to be driving more towards that? Because the sport has other factors that aren't just about good racing. The sport has things like, well, we need the integrity of the sport to be sound, which means teams that aren't going bankrupt all the time. I think we've broadly solved for that.
Done that.
You know, we have a very healthy, rich sport of teams with new teams too coming in. I know that the Audi's taken over an old team, but having Cadillac come into the sport is good. And we've had changes of owners and those kinds of things, and that happens. But broadly speaking, we haven't had a team just like randomly go bankrupt in the middle of the season and go, we can't even get within the 107%, qualifying time. That doesn't really happen anymore.
Well, it definitely didn't happen in the last few years, right? But I guess it's coming back into like, not that it's happening, but it's more of a worry now, partly just because the cars are so slow, and then the disparity between the best and the worst car is even worse. So, I mean, I'm not worried, but it was like, it felt like we'd put it to bed, and now it's almost like it's just creeping up a little bit.
Yeah, but
what
you
if
put
we're
new
too
teams
slow?
in. Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to get that. And you will also get teams that solve for it really early in the formula, and other teams take 6 months to a year to copy it. And I actually think that the being able to copy it takes longer because people can't spend as much as they used to. Just be like, they're doing that wing, let's bring that wing to the track next week. And we've already put it through all the wind tunnel, all this kind of stuff. So we're solving for a more stable sport. We're solving for more safety as well. On the face of it, the sport's also trying to solve for environmental impact by trying. I mean, I think that's a bit of greenwashing, but because you can't solve for environmental impact and then have all your biggest sponsors be oil companies and petrostates.
Got that.
And some of your biggest races being in petrostates too. Cusack not being allowed to go to the next Saudi Arabian Grand Prix probably now, but fine. not like any of us can travel there anyway, which is horrendous. Not being able to travel there, but
The world.
war, yeah,
No one can
exactly.
go there.
Yeah, exactly, right.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, right. So we're solving for all these external impact, all of these other non-racing, non-in-the-moment racing things, the kind of the broader, like over a season, how much does it cost for everybody to compete? How competitive can it be? Is everybody happy and in the sport? And also at the same time, seemingly bringing in the next young prodigy every single moment, making sure the brands are successful, making sure sponsors have, make sure the races can be run effectively in the countries and they don't lose too much money. You know, we've had a lot of European races fall off the calendar because they can't run it effectively anymore, but the sport is actually quite healthy from a fan base perspective. You know, good demographics coming in. Have we done all of that? And maybe are we sacrificing the racing now? Are those two things always in tension?
That's the argument, right? Is that as long as it's good, entertaining racing, it doesn't matter. And then some of the legacy fans feel like their enjoyment and the sport that they grew up loving is being compromised for the sake of these newer fans who just want a million overtakes and so on. But I mean, I don't really think it's. I mean, those things are all happening. They're trying to grow the sport. Partly because everything just keeps getting so dang expensive, but also the rich people who own the sport want to make even more squillions of dollars. But I think that would have happened anyway. So that's just a thing that was always going to happen. And it just so happens that now we have new regulations.
Yeah.
It's really, I think they're all separate, but I mean, I don't think one causes another is what I'm trying to say. And, you know, I mean, one of the problems is they've gone for 50-50 split battery and petrol. Is that too much? Too much too soon? But if you don't go hard on it, people won't make that change. So,
yeah, where does that end as well, right? This idea that I think that your point on some of the old school F1 fans might say that the point of Formula One is that it is right on the bleeding edge all the time, and that put danger aside for a second. Like, I don't watch the sport because I think it's dangerous, or that I'm interested because it's dangerous. But I think that there is part of the brand and soul of Formula One is we are making them go as fast as possible. This is right on the limit. And maybe we aren't really on the limit anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And the drivers don't think they are.
If we had gone for a 50-50 split of energy, but it had meant they go 10% faster, no one would be complaining. Well, not where they are anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Setting like blistering lap times, incredible unforeseen speeds, people would be less likely to shout about how this isn't real Formula One and da-da-da.
Yeah.
But the drivers' comments as well, I just feel like, I mean, I see this so much more these days, is that the social media fandom circles create such an echo chamber that Max Verstappen will say, I don't like driving these cars, and everyone will say, yeah, these cars are bad. I mean, Max said they're bad, and he's been saying it for a long time. You didn't listen to him. And it's like, well, he's not the only opinion that matters, right?
Yeah, you know who really likes these cars? Antonelli. Yeah. He thinks they're driving really well.
He thinks they're really good. Toto Wolff, also a fan. George Russell, he'd be persuaded on the right day. But, I mean, everyone who's doing okay, it turns out thinks they're great.
Yeah. And look, it has become, I mean, I think that's worth pivoting or diverting down the Max Verstappen off-road for a little while, because he really didn't like Formula One in the first half of last season. And then
that's true.
You know, they get rid of Christian Horner. He makes it, Red Bull becomes the Max Verstappen team. They do all the things that he wants them to do. The car improves, he improves, he chases for the championship, and he's much, much, much happier.
Stops deliberately driving into other drivers, things like that.
You can't ask that question, right? You'll get kicked out of the press conference.
Well,
don't say that. I'll kick you off this show if you dare ask a question that I don't like the term of.
Yeah,
and there is
a long time ago. I think you would have got over it, but okay.
No, definitely not. He does not forget anything, that guy. I forget that he's 28 and not 22. And so when he does really childish things, I'm like, you're a grown-ass man. We should expect more from you. Like, we were expecting more from Lewis Hamilton when he was like, I'm not going to go on the podium at Monaco because I don't like the way this race ran out, or, I'm not going to be happy. Yeah. There is
It's just so funny having been around for so long now, me, meaning I'm an old man. But like when I criticize Max Verstappen for like being petulant in a press conference and they're like, what about when Lewis Hamilton was petulant in his press conference? Were you critical then? I was like, yeah,
I was.
I was like, do you want me to pull up the old
I've got
podcast?
receipts.
Or, yeah, I wrote an article for it and, I was calling him out as well.
That's
saying
true.
That's stupid shit.
Yeah, we were calling Sebastian Vettel out before it was cool.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, you're a new fan. They're like, well, just because I'm an older fan doesn't make me better or smarter or righter.
No.
But it just so happens that, I do call out drivers when they do dumb shit, no matter who they are.
Yeah, it turns out that Formula One, like most sports, especially individual sports too, when you have someone who's incredibly successful, who starts to believe that the sport is actually successful because they're successful, it's impossible not to be in your F1 bubble. Like, it's just absolutely impossible. Like, you think, Max Verstappen, I'm sure, kind of goes, this sport maybe lives and dies by my success. And it's just not really true anymore. And there's a bunch of people who will just come after you, Kimi Antonelli might be the next world champion and he's 19, just like you were 17, Max. It will just continue on this journey. And honestly, I think the sport is so big now and there are so many people that people can like love and be interested in that if Max Verstappen quit, I don't think that the sport would be in some dire
absolutely
position.
Not.
And I don't even think that Max necessarily really thinks that either. I think he's been racing for a long time now. It's 11 years. How many seasons in Formula One? 12 seasons, something like that? Some insane number. Most other drivers at that point have either taken a year off or two, and maybe they'll come back. I wanted to ask you if you think maybe that this is more than just that, though. Like he's got to get, if he wants to get out of Red Bull, maybe leaving the sport for a little while is a nice way of getting out of Red Bull. And then he could be enticed back into he can see who wins next season.
Yeah,
and then if Mercedes might want him or Ferrari might want him.
If he was winning, he would not be talking at all about leaving Formula One. He just would not. It's that he's not winning. And this is the guy who supposedly, you could give him a lawnmower and he would just win based on his raw talent. And now that he's not winning, it's not just the fact that, Red Bull haven't developed as good a car as the other guys. It's this direction for this sport is wrong because I'm not winning. And if it was the right direction, then I would be winning because I'm the best.
Yeah.
But it's just reached a point where he's just whinging so much and is so annoying, generally, that if it's like, well, I'm going to take a year off, I'm like, fucking awesome.
Yeah,
or I'm going to retire.
We'd love that.
Don't care. Great.
Yeah.
It's all roses. And the thing that annoys me is when he keeps talking about it and then not doing it. I'm going to leave, I'm going to retire, I'm going to leave we'll do it or don't. Do it or shut up. I don't really care. So I've reached that point, basically.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking, comparing him to Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, even,
I saw online someone said, he was probably the greatest driver ever. And it's like, there's a few drivers who would like to have like Mark Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Jim Clark and Fangio. They all like to have a word.
Yeah, there's lots of arguments around whether you could put Kimi Raikkonen in the best car for a few seasons in a row and maybe see what you get.
He might have done okay. And Fernando was close for a few years too. But go ahead. Yeah, Max was the best driver ever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that. But fine.
One of the best.
The thing is, there's actually no way of being able to. It's impossible to have that argument.
Exactly.
It's the fun argument to have. I like doing that with any sport. Like, who is the best of this, right? But yeah, on his day, all things being equal, I think you could name 10 drivers who could win any race in any given moment with the best possible car. But I find it really interesting that Max Verstappen cannot seemingly he can't extract himself from this sport, and I think that's because he hasn't really created a brand outside of this. Like, he's actually not that interesting. Like, there is not something, I think, that people... what is it about Max Verstappen?
His fans like him.
But what kind of... When you think... You named those other drivers, right? So we could talk about... Let's talk about it. Like, Fernando Alonso, what is it that makes you think that Fernando Alonso is... Like, what is Fernando Alonso's, driving persona? Like, what is his thing? Like,
it's been a long time since he was amazing. Was relevant in that way, sure. But when he did, a young talent seemed to have come from out of nowhere, took on the very best that there had been of all time at that point and beat him. Seemed to be the real king what would you call it? Like a conqueror, like
Yeah.
the guy that brought down Goliath, right? So, I mean, not just his approach to the sport and the passion that he brought, and he had a good look, he was in the right team at the right time, and all the rest of it. But it just seemed to be there was sort of a promise to it that was backed up by skill. He sort of talked the talk and could walk the walk as well. And
But
just
he wasn't
seemed
like an overly aggressive driver, right? Like he was aggressive, but he felt like what Fernando Alonso at his best, I think, is like the epitome of what people like to think Formula One is, which is incredibly skillful. He's kind of constantly pushing the car onto its limit.
Yeah.
And there's almost an element of like individualism. Like I don't really ever believe that Fernando Alonso is great because the car is great. I tend to think that Fernando Alonso is great because he's great.
Yeah.
But that's because he's been in a whole bunch of shit teams.
That self-minded belief that people talk about that champion spirit, and of course Max Verstappen's got that, but it's also like, it's great when you're winning, but it's really tired really quickly when you're not winning, and that's, I think, where Max is at.
Yeah, and like, Fernando Alonso whinged a whole bunch, but he whinged about his team and he whinged about his car.
He did some bad things.
Yeah, and he did some crap things too. And then, like when I think about these other drivers, like I think about Sebastian Vettel, and I'm just like, he was doing stuff that other people couldn't do. When I close my eyes, think about clips where he is full throttle through corners that other drivers are just like, I just can't do that. Like I do not have that car control, or I do not have the race feel that Sebastian Vettel has. Like I think that he had aggression and he did things that were, he was petulant, but I think all the world champions are petulant because that's how you make sure you get maximum points every single time, because it's unique in that you are also racing against your closest colleague. But I also just don't think that Max has ever really had that in his career. He's just always just been the number one, and he always will be. And the whole team is built around him. And he's almost had this very specific career that I can't really think of any other Formula One drivers having. Even like Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes had Rosberg for a long time, and then he got Bottas and it wasn't a problem, right? And then, and whether it's Alonso at Ferrari, Vettel at Red Bull, Vettel had Aussie Grid himself, right there, Mark Webber chasing him all the time and trying to extract wins. Yeah, exactly. Daniel Ricciardo later, and then Daniel Ricciardo comes in, wipes the floor with him, and Vettel gets out. Max has had this really interesting career where the challenge has always been outside of him. It's never inside the garage. And the one time it was, he made sure that the team principal got it in the neck, and he didn't.
He dealt with it.
So this is a real challenging time for him, where like he can't pull his team through this, and they can't pull him out of it either. And so now's probably a good time to get out. I wonder what it means for your contract when you resign. Does that mean that when you retire, does your contract just go out the window if you choose to retire?
I think it depends on the terms. I mean, the team would be in a position legally to take action if they wanted to. I don't think they would.
No, they won't. No,
but
I mean,
and
then
it's
Isaac Hadjar will have a clean run.
People might say, well, like, Max wants to leave. He's so unhappy that he just desperately wants to leave, but he can't because of his contract. And I'm like, look, if he wanted to deal with that, he could deal with that and leave. I don't think he wants to leave.
Yeah,
I think
forgo some earnings. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So I don't know. So we feel sorry for Max? Or do we not care?
No, we don't care.
My position is I don't care.
No, but I do like the Formula. I like those stories though. I like it when people actually just say what they say.
I like when Max goes to drive at the Nürburgring, and then people are like, see, this Max is so desperate to leave Formula One, he wants to go drive at the Nürburgring. And I'm like, great, he can go every week for all I care. That sounds fucking great. See you later.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the clips on TikTok
of
him overtaking a driver who is not one of the greatest drivers of all time. Congratulations, Max.
What's his driver persona, the other name that he came up with? Klaus Norman or some shit?
Oh, it's not.
Well, he races under some of them.
Not Vax Verstappen. Yeah, he's better than me than coming up with these kinds of things.
Big Vaxy.
Yeah, big Vaxy indeed. So tell me about Kimi Antonelli. Do you think that this is he the next guy? Is he the next one up? Or did you just get really lucky with the safety car in Japan and lucky at other points too?
The thing about Japan is that, yes, he got very lucky with the safety car, and then he pulled away in a way that Russell could, and then people, Russell's car, da-da-da. But you look at the Japan race, and it's a bit of a hard one to read, because if Kimi wasn't in that position, could he have still done what he did? And I'm not sure he could have.
He wasn't showing it. Like Oscar got past him. Yeah.
There were driver rankings for the season so far that I saw that had Kimi Antonelli at like 7.8 out of 10 and Oscar Piastri 7.5 out of 10. And they were like, a bit tough on Kimi when he's won 2 races to give him 7.8. And I was like, well, yeah, but safety car.
Yeah.
And then also, like, Oscar's only been in one race and he nearly won it.
Yeah, exactly.
He should probably be a bit higher than 7.5. That's a bit rough, I think. So where's Kimi sitting? I mean, he's in the right team. The team that's going to do real well this year. Might clean sweep the whole fucking season at this point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know. I don't think we've seen anything from McLaren at all, really, yet. Like we
think
did in
it's
Japan, and I think it's
good
actually
signs.
there.
Yeah.
I think it's it's probably there over the whole season. Like there are really, I don't think it's easy to forget that actually McLaren hasn't just had a great car. I think they're actually a very high functioning team. I think that's what Zach Brown's worked and the team there has worked hard to build, is that this team is just a really highly functioning Formula One team now.
Even if they have a performance deficit to Mercedes right now, their operational...
Yeah.
What's the opposite of deficit? But surplus?
Yes, yeah, okay, sure, yeah.
Their
surplus,
operational surplus is
Yeah.
masking the fact that, like, if Mercedes can sort out their starts, that's going to be a tough team to beat on any day at any track. But I think we've seen Kimi do well. He hasn't necessarily dominated Russell. Russell hasn't necessarily dominated him. I think that's positive signs, because that might be the only battle at the front that we get the whole year. And it's encouraging for racing that Ferrari are within striking distance, that McLaren seem to really be in striking distance if Mercedes don't get their starts sorted out. If they do, a bit worried about that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, it would almost be more interesting if, let's say that like Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc or something like that was at Mercedes instead of Kimi Antonelli, or like if that driver lineup was even better. I know that, yes, Russell, oh my God, Russell, the unsung hero. Russell's the new fucking Hulkenberg of Formula One, and Hulkenberg's still in the sport. Yes, we all know.
We started the season. For the last many years, Russell has been the punchable one. You started this season saying, no, I like Russell now.
I do.
So where these three races in...
I like him.
You still like him, okay. Cool.
However, I think he's just in that second rung of drivers. Like, I think that he is the almost... If he doesn't win the title this year, is he just Jenson Button? Is he like, yes, we all know he's amazing, and he'll win a title, and then we'll all be able to say, amazing, yes, another British driver who did it. You know, and it wasn't all, like, it didn't take the perfect circumstances, but I think it will take the perfect circumstances. I don't believe that Russell can grab this, like, I don't think he should, basically, given all of the circumstances that exist right now, he should be the clear favourite for this title. And the fact that we are sitting here half hesitating over that means that he doesn't have it. Like, if you put Max Verstappen in this position, you would get like, well, even second year Max Verstappen, we'd be like, I think Max Verstappen is going to smash this championship out of the park.
I mean, they're closer than we maybe thought they would be, which is, it's hard to say, well, is that praise for Kimi, or is it faint praise?
Yeah.
Is it a condemnation on Russell? Maybe he was never as good as people thought he was. Probably a bit of both.
Yeah, it is a bit of both. It's true. And I think, unfortunately, like, I cannot believe we're in another season where we're like, almost Ferrari, almost. We've been saying that the entire existence of this show, 14 years of this show, Ferrari has been in the exact same position.
Isn't there something like, of the last 13 podiums, Leclerc has 11 of the last 13 Ferrari podiums or something like that?
Yeah, it's
basically all
crazy.
of his career.
And probably every single win at Monza. You know, like there is, he is...
Both of them.
Yeah, it is just... There's something about, maybe it's just because that's how they've always been, and maybe us asking for more from Ferrari doesn't exist. Like, there is the Michael Schumacher era, and that is it. That's actually the blip, that's the extreme event, and that Ferrari are just a team who signifies the sport, but tries to do it in a way that is not future-looking, and everybody else is just so competitive. And that the sport is just not weighted in their favour in enough of a way to make it work for them. It just never quite comes off for them. Like, when are they going to get... I don't know, maybe they're trapped as well because they can't take the chance on the driver to do that thing. They always have to... I suppose they've done that with Leclerc. But why is Kimi Antonelli not at Ferrari, for example?
Well, I mean, it seems like Fred Vasseur.
Yeah. Fred Leclerc Vasseur.
Fred Charles Leclerc.
The slur? No. Rod, you can't say that.
God, I haven't had enough coffee today. It seems like he was banking on maximum investment short-term returns.
Yes.
Because our big chance was at the change of the regulation. So let's get the best drivers, throw all of the money in the world at our people. But it hasn't really paid off. But that just shows to me that he's not investing longer term, which is what Mercedes are enjoying now, having invested in Kimi Antonelli. Yeah. It was like, worst case, Russell will be there. Best case, both of them will be there, and that's what
that's what they got. Yeah, I'm really surprised that.
Remember that Max could have gone to Mercedes.
Yeah,
If he wanted to, he could have just gone there.
could have just walked in there.
And now I think that, honestly, I think that part of the problem that Max has right now is that he knows that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that it gets to him, right? Like he is a guy who does care about the numbers and who does care about his legacy, I think. And unfortunately, he will probably look at his career and gone, I probably could have won 8 world championships. And he probably, if he hung around, he probably could. But I just don't think he sees the path forward at Red Bull. It just doesn't. The shine has come off that team now.
It's the problem with going to the team and saying, you have to build the team around me, is that when they do that, you sort of feel bad just turning around and walking away from it. To an uncertain situation at another team, but it probably would have been the right call for him to go to Mercedes, but he didn't.
God, can you imagine if he retires and then next year that engine comes good? Like
Red Bull smash everybody for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Hadjar that's doing it, or it'll be like Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris will go there, or something like that. Like it'll be some
record for most. Fuck
That'd
me.
be horrendous. Or it'll be Ollie Behrman, actually. It'll be like Ollie Behrman will go to Red Bull as the number 1 driver, and then he'll win 4 seasons in a row, 4 championships in a row.
Good.
It'll be something wild like that. Okay, well, let's say he does resign then. Let's finish off on Max Verstappen here. Where would you like to see him if he was to come back? Let's say he retires, and then it's the season 2028. He's back. Do you even want to see him back, first of all? But if you were to see him back, where would you like to see him?
Let's send him to Williams or somewhere like that.
Oh my God.
Somewhere that's really like, we're not going to build that team around you. You're going to have to do things our way. You're going to have to learn how to make
that'll
make
work
some
for
tea.
2 days.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody sweeps the floor here. Everyone,
I want to take that to a similar route then. I wonder if it would be something like Audi then. They take a season and a half to get their act together, or 2 seasons to kind of get their act together. And then they finally kind of, they crack it in a way that is like, we know we are in this for the long haul, because they're trying to run it like they want to be here for a long time. And it takes a few seasons to become a team that can make that work. It took Mercedes a couple of seasons. For me, there is no reason why Audi couldn't go through a similar journey as Mercedes. They have all the resources, all the Volkswagen resources. They have all the racing pedigree. They have all the operational excellence. Could they then go like, cool, hey Max, look at our trajectory. This is it. Why don't you come in and do it? And we will build the team around you.
why don't you just come in and do it?
Why don't you just come in and do it for once in your life? Come in and do it.
Have you thought about anyone else for once?
Yeah, Christ. I know,
Maybe
right?
us.
No.
Maybe you come and win with us.
Yeah, maybe he'll buy his own team. I can see Max Verstappen doing that. Getting some private equity money and like buying out buying out the second Red Bull team or something like that. Buying out.
Do you think he wants all the bullshit around that though?
But they're weird. Formula One drivers do.
They're definitely weird.
I'm constantly surprised. Like, why is Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin? Like, what is he doing?
They all say they hate the bullshit, and then they go back to every single race. Jensen Button, Mark Webber, still around the paddock.
He's gobbling it up because
all
they don't
he's doing is bullshit.
Yeah. They fucking gag for the bullshit.
Sayers roll bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh, even like Christian Horner desperate to get back into the sport.
He's
like, oh
thirsty
my
for some
God,
bullshit.
they all come back as pundits. They all get back into management. They all come back into teams because they all love it. Niki Lauda, that sport really didn't want him around, and he was like, "I'm desperate to be here."
Actually, quite like to be around if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Fantastic,
exactly.
Actually,
so okay, we think it's gonna. We can't wait for Williams 2028. Max Verstappen, write it down. The other question I had was not to fill you with questions.
Oof.
You said that McLaren may be a little bit further back. Do you think that this is just a little blip and they are actually, like, how much have they actually got in the tank, do you think? Do you really think Mercedes is that far in front? Or we just haven't seen the best from McLaren yet?
The thing is that there'll be upgrades throughout the year. This is a new formula. Everyone's going to work shit out. So anything could happen. But,
right.
I mean, McLaren have shown that they have got all the right ingredients. Sometimes they've just got to work out how to mix everything together to make it pay off. So it's the potential's just all sitting there for them to get it together. Just whether they will or not.
I wonder at what point as well that it starts to get in the way, having 2 good drivers. I don't think Lando's been at his best at all. I think he's fallen off
Doesn't seem to have been.
And you know, maybe the car doesn't suit him, and that's cool. I think he got really good circumstances last year. I think he's a great driver, but I genuinely think he is a one and done kind of champion. I don't think he'll win another.
It's hard to understand what would be motivating him any more than normal. He seems to really, like when he rocked up at testing, he seemed to be in such a good mood as the honeymoon was still, you know, the afterglow was
the
still
number
kicking
one
around.
slot.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
great.
Really enjoying that. But the shine seems to have gone off very quickly given the car and their performance and his race performance. Oscar finally takes part in one race. That was when I considered the season actually really started in Japan.
Yeah.
And suddenly Norris is kind of not really in the mix, and Oscar is, and that must have hurt a little bit. And there's this big break now, so I wonder what Norris will come back and be like.
Yeah.
Where his head will be at.
Yeah, because it would be frustrating, I think, as a world champion to then the last of that formula, and then to come in, and I think that people will kind of just forget that he is the number, like he's meant to be the best one, because I don't think people think he is.
Coming back to the fandom bubbles, I saw so many posts online say, this is unfair, we have to make some changes because Norris deserves a chance to defend his title. And I was like, look, I mean, everyone deserves a chance to be competitive, of course. Is it a sad story that Norris isn't in a competitive position to defend? Yes, of course.
Yeah, that happens.
But that doesn't mean you should change everything.
No.
That doesn't mean the team should prioritize him now, or they should actually change the cars to suit him a bit more. It's like,
No.
talking about. What are you talking about?
No, that's exactly true. Yeah, that's a weird statement. I think that it's
Internet's been weird lately.
It's a tricky line though that Formula One as a sport, all sports have to play this. All media has to, because Formula One is first and foremost these days a media entity and not exactly a sport.
So true, bro.
But if you are going to engage with the romance of the thing in order to make it more popular, and the narrative and the storylines and the drama, which is what we've always liked about Formula One as well, right? Then people almost expect a suitable narrative, that the kind of chaos of sport doesn't really lend itself to a predictable narrative. And that idea that someone should have the right to defend their title, or there'll be some poetic end to this reign, or that there's somehow that someone deserves something. This sport just doesn't really work like that.
Life doesn't work like that.
No, exactly, right? And I think that Formula One is almost the epitome of that, is that it's always, well, it's kind of always meant to be on a knife edge. It doesn't always live up to that standard, unfortunately. But yeah, you are one slow pit stop away from it all just falling away from you all the time. And I think that we can sit here and say that, well, the racing might not always be as good, but really, it is hyper competitive as a sport right now. It might not be right at the top ends, because we saw it lots over last season. McLaren just had really good long distance race pace, and they would just get to the front and they would just kind of win. And Mercedes is in that bubble too right now. But the clips, Rod, the actual overtaking, the actual 3 cars into a corner, the actual racing is actually pretty good. Cars, I think, can follow. Cars are coming back, and it's manufactured. It is like, well, he saved up a lot of battery, and so he's just going to come back at him.
Well,
but I don't really know how you get away from that.
All the cars have the same amount of petrol and the same amount of battery energy to deploy, and it all works out at the end of the day. You can't look at drivers jostling and changing position. Oh, you took me and then I just take you back. Who cares?
Yeah.
You could look at go-karts. You could look at MotoGP, where that happens all the time. And no one says, oh, that guy's only faster because his bike, he put more throttle down. And it's like, well,
that's the whole game.
That's called racing.
Yeah.
And the whole Mario Kart narrative. And it's like, I like Mario Kart. And again, there's artificial ways that Mario Kart is like, well, you get an advantage over someone, but that's artificial. This is not artificial. This is a level playing field.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same battery that they can deploy, unless it doesn't work or something, and then that's a different story. But the narrative that the problem is that it's battery racing, I just don't get it.
No,
and it does seem to be like the old way was, if your car was half a second faster than mine, that would be across a whole lap. You'd have tiny advantages here and there, as opposed to now where you can accumulate all of that advantage in one go and deploy it all in one go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it will all come out in the wash. That's sort of...
Yeah, and there's a cost to doing that too, right?
Yeah,
This is the
exactly.
thing, that there is still... Yeah, there's checks and balances on all of these things. I come back to that question earlier of what do we mean by good racing? and there is an inevitable tension between driver and car, because there are other racing sports, or other sports racing essentially, where you just make this car stock and then it's all about the drivers and the teams. You know, as far from a people perspective, like how talented is this driver? I think a lot of people want that for sports generally, that they want to see everything evened out so we can just get down to the skill, or get down to the talent, or get down to the even not the like the human advantage. And to them, I say, like, well, just go and watch the Olympics then, because that's what that is. Like, who can run the fastest? Who can jump the furthest? Who can swim the fastest? Who's got the biggest biological and skill differential? Which, unfortunately, when you get down to even that level, is like, who had the best coaches, who went to the best schools, who had the best like socioeconomic advantage, which is not nice either. So do you want your Formula One to get down to stock cars, and then we can truly tell if Lando Norris or Kimi Antonelli is the better driver? And in that case, then just run qualifying laps, because then you might as well just work out, is that all you want to know? Who's the fastest person around the track? You can have that on Saturday. We do that already. So in essence, we're having our cake. We kind of want to have our cake and eat it too, because we want these narrative-driven individuals. We want passion, we want skill, we want effort, we want steel and integrity, and also like endurance, and all these things wrapped up into an individual. However, the sport is actually a team sport. It is actually around who can find mechanical advantage.
Yeah,
you know,
and we've had these arguments for decades.
Well, since the beginning, right?
And the whole argument for not having a level playing field in terms of machinery is that there's a prestige to having a winning car, and the sort of secret of your victory is Ferrari is just a superior car. So you should go and spend $500,000 on one.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you'll feel like a winner too. And it's
worked in McLaren.
I mean, there would be, I'm sure, brands and teams that would leave the sport if it was top to bottom regulated. Every car must be exactly the same, and there will be no option for a mechanical advantage from any team, because that's the whole selling point, is that well, we're better at building cars and our cars go faster and go vroom louder than yours.
And it's why brands associate themselves with those things. But then I wonder if we've got it wrong. I think that all the cost-saving measures I talk about it like it's our sport.
When you and I decided that,
Yeah, exactly. When Super License came with the Super License rule, which is that you must only spend 500 million or whatever it is, I actually think that put downward pressure on, and we said, you can only test it this much, you can only bring these amount of changes, you have to use this many engines in a season, all of those kinds of things. We're all there to keep costs low. I wonder if it would have been better to say, this is the budget, like this is how much you need to spend as a team, but you can do whatever you like with that budget. And that gives creativity to teams to say, you know what, we're gonna really double down on being fast in the corners, and that means constantly bringing upgrades, that means constantly thinking about our wings, but because we know our power unit is set, like we're just gonna buy that from over here, we're not gonna spend too much money on that. Because right now, what we've inevitably just enshrined is that there's only really 3 teams that can win at any given moment. And everybody else is kind of languishing down the bottom, and they're really scraping around for points. So they don't want to, they can't really race too hard, because they need to make sure everybody gets home every week. I need my 4 points, I need my 6 points. I need to make sure.
Points.
Yeah, and don't crash. Like, nothing go wrong, please, because it costs so much money.
It's very expensive.
And don't push anything too hard, because we really need these PUs to last for 6 races, or however long it is these days. Even me, I've stopped keeping up with that stuff because it's so artificially driving down that it means it's so difficult for anybody to find an advantage. What I would actually like to see is for all of the teams in this 5-week break to be able to come to the next race and go like, we've looked at everything Mercedes is doing, we've copied all the good shit, we've actually improved on some of that stuff, and now our car looks different. Now our setup is different. But actually, the reason why Toto Wolff those last 2 seasons was, or with almost the entire last formula, was so bereft, was just like, well, we've picked our path and now we're fucked. Because there is basically no way out of this path. We cannot change tack here.
Yeah.
Like, we're in real trouble. Whereas what I would like to see is a little bit more innovation. Maybe I saw it at Aston Martin, maybe you all saw it at Aston Martin, and their car just doesn't work because of the level of innovation.
Back to this.
But they're almost not going to be able to test their way out of it. So if you are, and look, yes, Ferrari has a big testing track, and that means they could test all weekend. Would that be such a problem? For them to be testing every day for 5 weeks in a row and come with a better car. I think I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them come, because every team knows their exact problems. No one is working through the issues being like, we don't know why we're slow. They know exactly why they're slow.
Maybe there needs to be extra compensation when there's new regulations and completely radically different technology stacks, to just be like, you get extra testing days the first year, fewer the next year, fewer the next year, until it peters out. Maybe it's something like that.
Thinking about the budget of the sport over an entire formula is a really interesting idea. Like, this is how it's going to cadence and work over this period, as opposed to being very deep on the regulations in year one. Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think that it's I don't know, it does more and more. It feels like we're artificially trying to keep the sport competitive. Bring back the exploding tires, Rod. That's all I want to say.
You know what's actually really good? It's popular, and it's Mario Kart.
Yeah,
we should do more Mario Kart shit.
Yeah.
Two things that I wanted to end on. Number one, we've got this big gap now for global reasons. But I mean, I guess these are two things that are maybe related. But one is there's no races for the whole of April, which in the F1 season that we have with so many races crammed in is fucking absurd.
Yep.
But also, we all know why there's no races. And then, I mean, I announced this a while ago, but I was like, I'm not watching any US races going forward until this shit gets sorted out. So it's even worse for me, because I'm also going to boycott Miami.
Yeah.
And fuck, that's the next race. So it's going to be a lot longer wait for me. But also coming back to race times, US has never been in a good race time. So it's very easy to boycott all those races, because I just have some extra sleep.
Yeah.
But even if they were on prime time, I would still boycott them, because fuck that shit. That's a shit situation, and I'm done with it. So no US races for Rod.
Yeah, I mean, that creates a really tricky scenario as a sports fan generally. As a quick aside that is, I think, adjacent to this. I was hanging out with a friend of mine who was following one sports team, and then they had a crisis a few years ago, and then
you hate to see it.
Then she was like, I can't follow this team anymore for this.
Got it.
This. However, I love this sport.
What now?
I'm going to pick a different team. And as she was starting to look at different teams to follow, she found lots of reasons. Like, well, that's got a crisis, they've got a problem, no. That's not good, I don't love this, that. And eventually, found a team to settle on and really likes what they do and achieve and all this kind of stuff. It's the comeback against all of this, like, oh, you're boycotting the US races. Well, why don't you boycott the British Grand Prix for their history of whatever? And you can only really act on the information you have at the time. But this puts Formula One in a really tricky situation, because they are...
Tell me more, why?
Well, but yeah.
Tell me a lot more.
Yeah, tell you a lot more right this moment. I can talk to camera while you do that, if you'd
fantastic.
like. Love because I know your position on this stuff.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, but I think that Formula One gets put in a really tricky position now, because the money required to run this sport, and the only reason it survives is through loads of sponsorship. And sponsorship, generally speaking, is in a tricky spot. Big companies don't want to put down 5-year contracts, 10-year contracts, and get behind a sport for a really, really, really long time, or behind a team or behind a driver, because they don't know what that person might go and say or do, or all these kinds of things. So it makes it really, really, really difficult for Formula One to continue just to operate. And we saw that even Qatar Airways wanted to pull out of sponsoring the Melbourne Grand Prix at that moment, and the Australian Grand Prix Corporation had to basically just be like, you cannot do that.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
This only works with your money. So you look around the entire sport, and it's almost indefensible.
I know what you mean.
As a sport.
It also reaches a point where you go, well, what do you do? Just deprive yourself of every joy that life has because there's some element of it that's problematic. It's like the idea of well, I want to boycott Spotify. That sounds great. You should do that. Well, I also don't want to support Apple Music because Apple does bad things. And I'm like, well, okay, you could boycott Apple Music too. Well, I also don't like Tidal because of that. Yeah. And it's like, well, what do you do? Just have no music in your life? This is a sort of not a way to live your life. Everyone's going to pick their own lines. But for me, the US is that's just too much. Can't support that. So that's where I'm drawing my line. And everyone can draw their own line. Everyone can agree or disagree.
Exactly.
This is the reality. No one in the world's going to give a shit whether I boycott some races, but I still got to do it.
I don't know. You'll find some people who will hate you for it.
Oh,
Max Verstappen is actually like, why are you boycotting all my races?
Yeah, he can come out and win all those ones, and I'll be like,
maybe he'll have some more time. Maybe come on the show when he's retired.
He might do that. Maybe we could just tell him that super license is actually a very exclusive racing series that all of the best drivers drive in. Not a podcast at all. Second thing that I wanted to talk about, and then we might wrap it up, is Aston Martin and Adrian Newey, who I was questioning, I think you were too, like, why is he team principal? What's that about? Isn't he way more valuable doing that thing that he's a genius
Just
at, rather
aerodynamics.
than upper
Designing
management?
yachts.
Senior management doesn't seem to be his thing necessarily. There's a lot of angry people and rumours he's going to get 86'd out of that role, and it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to be the I told you so guy, but I'm also
The best
very
thing about
sort of
having
happy
your
to
own
do it.
podcast.
Why have an opinion if you're not going to gloat about when you're right?
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like he's not doing very well in that role.
Which is a shame for us because we love Adrian Newey's car designs. I don't know if I like him anymore.
I'm a fan, but also as a designer, not really.
Yeah, it's a shame because I think with maybe that's a summary of maybe where the sport is going to, in that it can be a little bit up its own backside. I think that says everything you need to know about Aston Martin, in that they were like, name guy. Like, we've got Fernando Alonso, name guy. Everyone says he's good. And now Adrian Newey, he's not even asking for that many millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I'm sure he thinks he can do it. How hard is it to run a Formula One team anyway? It's already here. We just put him in charge. It doesn't quite work that way. Ask Ferrari. Like, it just doesn't really work in those ways. And I don't know why. Yeah, you've had a professional career. This is the individual contributor versus team manager proposition. Make your individual contributors special and just get him to design an amazing car. But maybe this says a lot for how Red Bull ran for all those years.
They're saying now all the ingredients are there except that our chassis is no good. Like, well, you could have looked after the guy who was designing your incredible chassis, but no.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a shame. I just don't really know what Aston Martin is anymore. Like, they are proof that you cannot just throw money at this sport. You know, you can't just like keep hiring guys. There is still a thread of you do need, and we can talk badly about Fred Vassar as much as we like, but there are people in the sport who do just are like F1 whisperers. Flavio Briatore is one of them for his sins. Like, there are people who kind of know how to make this thing work. Toto Wolff is probably the best one right now. I think he knows, he clocked it. He was like, I know how the sport works now. I think I can, we might be down for like a couple of minutes.
Do the voice though. Say all that again, but do the voice.
We're down for one moment, but we are back soon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Down.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Like you're eating a really big melon. Down.
It's fun to make fun of people like this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's it. You still do need a guy.
Yeah, you need a guy.
You know, or a person. It doesn't have to be a guy. It can be anyone. It could be a woman too. Who just knows how to make Formula One work. I think maybe that who's the team principal at Haas? Like, I think Haas actually has an operation that maybe knows how sport works.
Yeah, I mean
Kobayashi.
Kobayashi.
What's his name?
Komatsu.
Kamatsu.
You fucked me up with your Kobayashi. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, I did.
Idiot,
No,
it's not Kobayashi, it's Komashi.
Yeah.
No.
It's mashed
Anyway,
potato.
Komatsu,
How hard is it to remember?
The whole thing about Newey being like, he's the designer, he's the guy that can see air. It's like, well, that's cool, but what's he like with people? Well, I would yet to be determined. Well, good idea putting him in charge of everyone. Way to go. Can he see the air as people leave and like abandon? All I can see is air. I don't know. It just seemed like a bad idea from the start and seems to be playing out that way, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Any last thoughts before we wrap it up? It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you. It's
Shame
fun
there's no
doing a
race to go
podcast.
to.
Yeah, it's a shame there's no race to go to. It's fun to do podcasts in person.
It's fun.
Yeah, I might go to Silverstone this year.
Well, you said next year.
No, but I think it might be this year. We'll see how we go.
This is a camping situation.
Yeah, I know. I think I'll find a way up there on just race day. I don't want to camp. This is a camping situation. I'm too. I don't think I camp. I glamp. I'll go as low as a glamp. But no, not as low as a camp. I did see friends of the show, Abhishek and Michael Lemonardo were at the Japanese Grand Prix. And I had a friend of mine, a couple, husband and wife, who went to the Japanese Grand Prix for vibes. And I tell you, they're right. The vibes are good.
Yeah, I want to go.
I think maybe we need to do that.
It was on the cards for me next year, but then some cards slipped around, some other cards slipped in their place.
You got Adrian Newey.
That's the problem. Yeah. the guy that can see cards. So next year maybe it's on the list. It's
on our
probably
list.
the next one.
We're too young, guys.
Well, let's make that.
We're having a good time. We'll be able to make it work. We'll be able to make it work.
Just
That's
make
it. They're all my
just make it
thoughts.
work. Well,
Let's go get lunch.
I think I'm hungry. It's what's going to happen. Well, we'll be back with a podcast, I guess, later. You're going to fly back over in a month to do another podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. See,
Yeah.
I'll leave the couch
How
here
does the
then.
show's budget stretch for that? Badly. Can I swim?
Working on that, just getting some new sponsors.
Yeah. Because global air travel actually right now is really simple to organise as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Petrostates have never been more popular, and there's a certain strait that's going to open right up.
Yep.
Actually, we're sponsoring the strait.
I flew with Cathay Pacific, and people were like, wow, you did so well to book those flights. No, they, as my wife says, they chose us by being the cheapest airfares.
It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
By
Actually,
us
Hong Kong, fun.
being financially challenged and then being cheap.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, look, I'm just trying to say that we're hyping up. There'll be more podcasts, of course. I'll try and do some live streams and shit. And we'll just keep things rolling. By all means, sound off and let us know what you think about the regulations. We'd love
to hear that.
They can't see what I'm doing.
This guy would love to know.
Shit.
Daniel, we haven't heard from
This guy,
Daniel in
Daniel.
ages.
Yeah.
He's not desperate to get back into the sport. He's never talked. I don't even see him anymore.
No, there was a clip of him the other day saying, what did he say? I was relieved that they got rid of me because I wanted to go, but I couldn't do it, basically, is what he said. He's like, it was a relief that they forced it. I was like, okay. You didn't seem very happy when they did force it. It seemed to
That
actually
sounds
be very
like
negative.
copamine, mate.
A little bit.
Copamine or is it copium? One of the bad drugs.
Copium, but he also doesn't like. He's not a fan of getting a haircut either, or shaving beard. So that's the state. That's what he's up to these days. But anyway, don't want to end on a down note.
Yep.
Come on the show, Dan. We're a great racing series at all the best
Room on
drivers
the couch.
racing.
You could be sitting between us
Come to the
instead of
couch.
above us. Come
Dan,
to the couch.
hashtag Dan on the couch.
Yes, finally. Okay.
Well, we'll wrap it up. I usually hit some buttons, but they're all the way over there. So maybe I'll
Don't
just
worry about
close
that.
it. I'll just end it.
We usually say things though, like you can go on the Discord.
You can go to the Discord. You can follow us on Threads. We're at Superlicense F1 on Threads. But the website itself is superlicense.fm. This week, Zach, the FM stands for?
Finally munching.
Finally munching, because we're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Stay in touch. And I guess, what do they say? Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell.
Yep. Stay classy, San
Stay-
Diego.
And we'll see you next time for the award-winning, let's just say, Superlicense F1 podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.